Hello, 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 and a holy Sunday to everybody out there in cyberspace and other dimensions of space, time, frequencies that may or may not be listening. Welcome to another Sunday night edition of Free Association Radio. I'm your host, Robert Phoenix, and I am aided and abetted by the mysterious Miss E, who is in studio tonight, fueling our journey into the far reaches of experience, imagination, and hopefully return. Tonight we're going to have a really good show. We're going to have Alan Howarth on tonight, and Alan should be joining us in about 10 minutes. And Alan is one of the great sound effects wizards of Hollywood history. He is responsible for every bleep, blast, blare, and buzz you've ever heard on any of the Star Trek movies, with the exception of the latest one by J.A. Abrams. All those cool and interesting space-age sounds, Alan was the guy. He created them. In addition to his legacy with Star Trek, he is also the go-to guy for John Carpenter when it comes to sound effects for his films. And in fact, both Alan has collaborated on orchestral and soundtrack pieces for some of John's films as well. So Alan isn't just a guy that plays with, weird tweaking noises. He also makes music. And in addition to some of the scores that he's done for John Carpenter, Alan has also done music for other films that are mostly in the horror genre. And he is the main guy for some of those soundtracks, and he's a studio wizard. He was a producer, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Alan was the producer for Jaco Pastorius. We'll talk about this just to make sure that I've got it right. The tempestuous bass player who died in Miami after going into a nightclub and getting literally the hell beaten out of him. So we'll talk about Alan's production and career as a sound guy. I think he's done some road work too. Alan has tons of great stories, and we'll hear about them tonight in hopefully great detail. In addition to all these things in the world of commercial sound effects, Alan is also a sound healer, and he has been really on the cutting edge of a lot of sound healing technologies. And tonight we're going to talk about raw music. And that's not R-A-W, that's R-A as in the Egyptian sun god. And I'll let Alan explain a lot more of this in great depth and detail, but let's just say that Alan and some of his fellow explorers in sound, people like J.J. Hertog of the Keys to Enoch fame, have figured out that basically Western music, the scale of Western music is off, and that we've started at A440 now, which is where A starts on the scale. And Alan and his team have basically discovered that it's closer to like A335, A336. May not seem like a lot to you, but in terms of the natural resonance of sound, it means a great deal, a lot. And we'll talk about how that affects us as a society, as a culture, as an organism. And we'll get into that a little bit later with Alan and a lot of his great stories that I'm sure you'll find fascinating. He's got a great story about They Live, with the film with Roddy Piper and Keith David, and we'll talk about that. It's about the fight scene. If you've ever seen They Live, then you'll know what I'm talking about. And Alan's got inside info on that fight scene. I'll let him share that with you. Just a few brief headlines. There's some fascinating stuff that's percolating around the world today. Stephen Hawking basically came out and said, if there are aliens out there, and he says that he's pretty sure that there are, that it would be in our best interest to not talk to them, because he thinks that there would be a greater than 50% chance that they would not have our best interest at heart. So here we are, we're talking to, theoretically, one of the smartest men in the world, and he's saying, if you see an alien, stay away. Alienate them. Alienate the aliens. Make sure that they, don't have the right to pass code. Now, look, there's probably some good aliens out there, and there's good people out there, but there's probably some bad seed aliens. And let's face it. I mean, how many of us have experience discerning the good aliens from the bad aliens? Now, there may be people out there that have that experience, and that if you can call us up later and maybe fill us in on that, that'd be great. We'd like to know a good one from a bad one. Speaking of bad aliens, Cliff High at the WebBots Project sent out a really interesting post/email this last week, and he was basically saying, like, there is a word or a series of words that you can utter to somebody who is a shape-shifting, multidimensional reptile, and they'll basically turn right into a reptile before your eyes. Now, he didn't tell us what that is, and he's not even sure what that is, but he's pretty sure it exists. So maybe it's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. If anybody out there ever gets within about 10 feet of Dick Cheney, can you just say that a few times? See what happens? And see if that has some impact. On the environmental front, there are a couple of things that are really worth noting right now. First it was the bees, now it's the bats. Bats are succumbing to what is now called white noise syndrome. They don't really know what it is. They think it's some fungal infection that is basically killing off the bat population. And that's bad news. It's really bad news. I mean, bats are an incredibly important component in the in life's food chain. I mean, bats eat mosquitoes, bats eat flies, bats eat all those nasty bugs that we don't like. And if there's less bats, there's more of them. So now we're seeing impact on the bee community, now the bat community, and I just read that they're trying to kickstart this global initiative to start hunting whales again, and that's starting to froth up. And if people know anything about the whales and the role that whales perform, they are the heart chakra of the planet, the absolute heart chakra of the planet. And if we don't have whales on this planet, if we don't have dolphins on this planet, we will lose the connection between our heart chakra and our crown chakras. They are the record keepers. They are the living libraries. They are the oldest beings on this world. And there is going to be a global hunt on whales in the not-too-distant future. And related to that, perhaps, Senate Bill, I believe it's S510. So let me make sure I've got the right one. Hold on. Let's see. Here we go. S510. It is the Food Safety and Modernization Act of 2010. Food Safety and Modernization Act. Yes, they have your well-being in mind firmly entrenched in their hearts. And what this is it is a draconian and ultimately fascistic bill that will ultimately keep people from growing their own food, having farmers markets, and roadside stands. And if you are doing that, you will be fined. You will be put in jail. Why? Because it's for your own good. Only people that can create genetically modified organisms can grow food in this world. When are you people going to wake up to that? It's on the Senate floor. It is going to go through Congress. If this bill passes and there's an economic downturn and you can't buy food and you've got to grow your own food and this thing is passed, heaven help us. So if there is anything that if you wanted to fight for something, really fight for something, if you wanted to have one thing in this world count, it would be to grow your own food. Theoretically, it is a God-given right, but we don't know what deals or treaties have been made with people that Stephen Hawking says that we shouldn't be talking to. But theoretically, until we understand those things, it is. Last time I checked, we can still grow food here, and it's going to be important to hold on to that right. I urge you, please tell people about this. S510, the Food Safety Modernization Act. Look, it's going to be hard to put the brakes on this. I mean, we've got to find a way to do this. I mean, here's the problem. We are rapidly coming up on the midterms in November. And I'll tell you right now, you're going to see more people not run for re-election and retire before the midterms than at any other time in history. You're going to see a broad sweeping change, but by that time, it might be, for all intents and purposes, too late. We'll have had the Food Safety Modernization Act, perhaps the Lieberman-McCain Anti-Terrorism Act. Certainly, we'll have the whole medical reform pushed through. I mean, they're on a fast track to get as much done before November, and I'm not sure if we can threaten a lot of our representatives with not re-electing them, because I don't think a lot of them plan to be back. I think they're going to take their money and run, and some of them might even take their money and run, someplace out of this country. Maybe they'll go hang out down in Paraguay or wherever the Bushes are buying up all that water. What else is happening? Greece is starting to riot and revolt. The sanctions from the IMF are coming down. They don't like them. And you're not going to see a lot of that here in this country because they don't want to show angry people, righteously angry people. But that's happening, this will not be the last time you'll see people in Europe take to the streets. I said it earlier in the year, back in January, that you're going to see massive protests in Spain and Italy, Greece, a lot of the Baltic countries, and that will start to spread out to some of the satellite countries like Latvia and maybe some of the stands, Kyrgyz and Kazakhstan, and the other stands. So the world is a very intense place right now, and congratulations for making it through another week. It takes commitment to be here, and it takes commitment to be here listening to the show either in real time or in podcast mode. But before we get to Alan, who I think is going to be on here in a minute or so, let me check my switchboard. There he is. Again, I want you to think about S510, look it up, and let's figure out a way to put the brakes on this thing. So, what I'm going to do before I bring Alan on? I'm going to play a little bit of his music.